All right, so eating a taco in a crappy tortilla is like putting a Ferrari engine in a RAV4. No offense to RAVs or 4s. It is like taking Wagyu beef and putting on a communion wafer. No offense to communions or wafers. You know, San Diego can call itself a taco culture all at once, but if you're just using subpar, mass-produced, unloved, generified masa, it's like having your kids do a sock puppet reenactment of Hamilton. Take me to Masa Broadway instead. So to truly reach taco enlightenment, you need the best masa possible. That is the cornerstone of good. And lucky for us, we have two people who make some of the best dang heirloom masa in San Diego. A chef of 20 years at one of San Diego's best restaurants. His wife, who grew up and learned the recipe for masa and nixtamalization from her mom down in Michoacán. Somos Maíz are on our show. All right, but first, Jackie isn't here today, so I'm going to do your news, a little bit of the update of what's happening in San Diego's food scene. I'm Troy Johnson. This is Happy Half Hour, everything you need to know about your food scene. Maybe not everything, but whatever. It feels like a good digest. All right. Lana is opening up in Solana Beach. Now, this is going to be big. There is 3 people. Mark Whedon, Mark Whedon is a level 2 sommelier in San Diego, just a really, really good dude. And he's been at a few different places around San Diego, creating like one of the best wine programs. Operator Travis Legrand, who has been at a bunch of different restaurants in San Diego, including Urban Kitchen Group, which does Cucina Enoteca, Cucina Urbana. He knows how to run the show. And then Chef David McIntyre. If you've been around in San Diego's food scene for a long time, you might remember a place called Crescent Heights. Crescent Heights, when it opened, was a big, big deal because David McIntyre was the guy who was running it. It was him and his wife who were invested in it. It was down on Broadway here in downtown. It was a terrible location. I mean, the San Diego, the city, wasn't really necessarily ready for it. But David was cooking amazing food because he's basically been Wolfgang Puck's right-hand man for 20 years. He's last ran Cut Steakhouse in London, and now he's coming back to San Diego, opening up Lana, and it's going into the old California Pizza Kitchen location along Pacific Coast Highway in Solana Beach. If you know Solana, if you know North County, you know that location because it was... like you have this beautiful beach town, and no offense to C, P, or K, you would see this just massive chain restaurant lording over the Pacific Coast Highway. Well, now they brought in a designer that worked with Paul Basil, who did all of like Consortium Holding stuff, and they recreated that entire space. They're opening up this week. Okay. Zion Market, there's new food offerings. Zion Market is going to be a thing over in Convoy. Basically one of the original Asian grocery stores in the area, the one that kind of, where the food scene and all the restaurants spun out of. They're going to open, restaurants are opening in August, including Marugami Udon, Fika Fika, Chagi Tea House, and more. The guy behind Egg Slut is going to be doing a collaboration there. And then phase 3, they're going to do a speakeasy and a massive food hall on top of Zion Market. And it's going to be designed by Michael Soriano, who did Vin de Syrah and did the Pearl Hotel and a bunch of other places. He's just got a fantastically creative designer mind. He's designer / architect / just one of the best forces in our food scene. He's going to be designing it. New Way Bagel, the old bagel punks, they finally got a permanent home in Leucadia, sourdough bagels and Bialys, along Coast Highway 101. The menu is going to grow. They're going to do a Crossings Coffee collaboration, or Crossings Coffee is going to be joining their spot, but basically New Way Bagels makes one of the best bagels in San Diego, and they're going to be having a new spot. And then the other thing you need to know is that the $500-something million renovation of Hotel Del, that classic place where Marilyn did her hot thing that some liked. I forget the name of the movie, whatever. Marilyn Monroe went down the steps very famously. There's a ghost in one of the rooms. One of the most historic places that San Diego has. I love going down there. Every time I go down there, I forget why I don't come more. And plus, if you have kids, you can take bikes and ride all around Coronado. Not many cars and super wide roads. It's a little, it's not a tip, whatever. It's Coronado. bikes. You get it. You've known this for 25 years. And here I'm like, hey, it's an insider tip. Ride bikes in Coronado. But Nobu is there. Nobu's there. Nobu's open. Their $550 million renovation is basically ready to go. Everything is done. This has been a massive 6-year project, so go check it out. All right, so that is your news for the day. Now it's time to bring in two of my favorite people. I've been following this chef for a very, very, very long time. One of the most thoughtful people in San Diego. They are basically helping Mexican farmers make money off of their corn that they're growing the right way, the old way, and making into some of the best masa in Mexico and now here in San Diego. All right, now to introduce our guest for the day, you'll notice if you're watching this on YouTube that we have 4 corns here. These are not your average everyday corns just spilled off the side of a truck. These were sourced very, very intentionally by a couple people that know their corn exceptionally well. I'm not going to introduce you quite yet. I'm almost there. So I first met Ron. When I first started writing about food. And, if you know the Marine Room in San Diego, the Marine Room wasn't always known for good food, to be quite honest with you. They'll tell you themselves. They were meant for cocktails. They were meant for, to have a drink and watch the sunset before you went to some serious place to get more serious food. And Bernard Guillas came in to the Marine Room and really changed that. And in a couple years, he brought on this man, Ron Oliver, who was his right-hand man, his chef de cuisine for 20 years. And Ron and Bernard, you guys, not to overcredit you, and you can tell me to shut up if you need to, but you guys really set the stone of that place being a legitimate, great food place. Ron Oliver, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And then the woman sitting next to him, I think he knows her, is the woman who is really nice enough to marry Ron. And she was raised in Michoacán, taught the nixtamalization and corn process, basically taking corn and nixtamalizing it to make maíz. And this is what we've been talking about since the beginning of the show. Maíz is both the cornerstone and soul of a lot of Latin American food and cuisine and culture, but the nixtamalization process, what you do with corn and how you kind of access the real flavors of it and the real nutrition was taught to you by your mom. Welcome, Isabel Oliver.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
And together they formed Somos Maíz.
That's right.
What you have here is maíz, and then they take it and it's nixtamalized and turned into, which is essentially corn dough. Exactly. And the basis of a cuisine. This is masa.
Exactly. So it's corn dough.
Okay.
And it's pliable. And part of the nixtamalization process makes the corn pliable.
Okay.
So whereas bread, you have gluten, which you develop to give it structure.
Yep. When
the corn is cooked in an alkaline solution, not only does it unlock all of its nutrients, but it makes it kind of have a gelatinous texture.
Yep.
Which gives it that pliability and that holding.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So, all the world knows there's 2 types of corn in Mexico. One is like the corn that we probably know in the United States, and one is a little bit harder, and has you have to dry it out and really dehydrate it and cook it and grind it down to make masa. Correct?
Right.
Okay, so what is nixtamalization? Anybody who's been to a taco shop, has heard that word. And a lot of them, 90% of them, unless you study food or you're in food, go, that's a fancy word. I think that means my taco is good. My tortilla is good, right? What is nixtamalizing?
Cooking the corn.
It's cooking the corn. Thank you for making it so simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the funny thing is with Isabel and myself is that, I met Isabel when I was 19.
Okay.
And what was that, like 1989 or something?
88.
1988.
The woman always remembers. I'm sorry, not to throw my gender under the bus, but yeah, thank you. Thank you for being that person.
And she took me to her town. It's a little town called Lagunitas. At the time, there was not even a sign that, said this is Lagunitas. It was just a little road that you had to know where it existed. And then you walk down and you're in the town. And she took me into her town and I was introduced to her family and all these processes and the culture of corn. It was so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And I expressed all this fascination to her. And she was just like, this is just what we do. Like, why are you so fascinated about it?
Daily life.
This is daily life.
Right. This is the ritual of my family, of my town, of where I live.
Yeah.
And so when you are fascinated by something, you tend to research it and you try to kind of define it into terms, right? Yeah. So that's why when you ask her what is nixtamalization, and she says it's cooking the corn. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's so much behind that more in her mind. But
this is funny because you guys alluded to this before the show. You, because it's in your bones and because it's in your heritage and because it's in your family and it's your mom, you know it is cooking the corn. You just know how to do it. You hired your research assistant.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
Here, Ron Oliver, one of the best chefs in San Diego, so they could tell all the science behind it. So
exactly.
Drop some science on us, Ron. This is your role.
Okay, so nixtamalization is cooking corn in an alkaline solution. How do you make the water alkaline? Is you add ash. It could be wood ash. Back in thousands of years ago, they would burn mussel shells, which have calcium.
Yep.
And they would use that ash to make an alkaline water. Today, it's most common to use a thing called cal, which is calcium hydroxide.
Yep.
It's basically a rock ash.
Okay.
So when you cook corn in alkaline, what happens is it makes the nutrients in the corn absorbable by the body.
Yep.
So that's what it means by unlocking the nutrients. Because the nutrients are in corn, but your body can't absorb them.
Yep.
But this process allows you to absorb it.
And you think about that when you think about cooking across any culture. I mean, the cooking, they think, is why human beings evolved to be the predominant species, right? To have a big brain was because there was a lot of unavailable nutrients out there in the world. And when you learn how to cook it, you're essentially releasing those nutrients and the body's able to absorb them, correct? And that's how we're able to develop a big brain.
It's the process by which the entire Latin America has been evolved and sustained.
Yeah.
Without nixtamalization, probably Mexico doesn't exist as we know it today.
God, how smart are human beings? They have found evidence of making masa and nixtamalization 1500 BC, I want to say.
Yeah.
Was when the shells that you're talking about, I think that's when they found them. They were using shells and charred shells in this aqueous solution to soak and expose their corn, right, and releasing all of those nutrients and flavor, right?
And flavor, yeah. So, and texture.
Okay.
So this process also softens the pericarp, which is the outer skin of the corn.
Yep.
And that pericarp needs to be softened so that you can rinse it off. Mm-hmm. It can be rinsed off 100% if you're making different preparations like tamales, for example. For tortillas, you want that softened pericarp in the dough because that's what gives it its structure, its holdability. So when you press a tortilla, it stays together. It's kind of gelatinous.
Got it.
Yeah, so it's a process that is really, really interesting, really fascinating. And the funny thing is, well, not the funny thing, but the interesting thing is that we think of it maybe in America as something that's really, again, fascinating, scientific. I don't know. When we talk about it, it kind of gives you a higher value in a kitchen that you nixtamalize corn.
Yep. Plus, anybody can pronounce that word automatically. You can get a sous chef job. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's done. It's been done every day for thousands of years in every household in Mexico. So people tell us sometimes, oh, you guys make gourmet masa. You make elevated masa. And I say, no, we make masa.
We make masa.
It's the same way it's been done. The only difference is that our stone grinder is electric because, electricity was not invented but till recently. But it's the same stone, it's the same process, and it honors the tradition, and it's the tradition that's being lost.
Yeah.
So we're kind of joined a greater movement to reclaim the culture of corn, to rescue the tradition.
And that is where food is going forward, is going backwards, right? We've already taken it so far forward.
It's so great.
And not to go backward.
Yeah, because we got a little too far removed from what food really is, right?
You're right. Yeah, go back to the roots.
The roots.
Yeah.
So when you first met, okay, I want to get back to this. I want to get into your story a little bit. So, growing up in the Michoacán, can you kind of describe your town and your culture? I mean, and the process of how ingrained corn was into your family's life.
Yes. So my father was a farmer.
Okay.
And he grew the corn that we ate, every day. My mom will make tortillas every day.
Every day.
Every single day.
Yeah.
And so ingrained that in later years, my mom developed dementia, and at night she would wake up and say, "Oh my gosh, I didn't turn off the nixtamal."
No way.
So that was
struggling, having a terrible time, remembering a lot in her life. But
and nixtamal, see that's so ingrained. So yes, corn, of course. The Three Sisters, like you said, is a big thing.
And the Three Sisters are
the squash, and beans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So corn, squash, and beans in Latin American culture, they're called the Three Sisters, almost a mirepoix of culture and food, right?
Yeah. And so in ninth grade, we had a required class that was agriculture.
Nice.
And we did the whole thing from planting the seed to the table.
Yeah.
So the whole year we went through the process, and they taught that because we're a rural community, and that's where you're expected to know.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to help you live beyond
Yes.
when we're taking care of you.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have people looking out and safeguarding it, but soon you're going to be the safeguard. So you know how to need to know how to nixtamalize.
Exactly.
Starting now. Did you even call it nixtamalization?
Nixtamal.
Nixtamal, because the word is a Native American word for, I'm losing it right now. I knew it at one point in time.
Yeah.
Basically it means cook the corn. Yeah.
It means
Yeah.
cook the corn.
Yeah.
Like she said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
We wouldn't say, my mom wouldn't say, "I'm going to nixtamalize." She's going to say, I'm going to put the corn in the stove, you know.
Yeah.
Voy a poner el nixtamal.
Yeah, I'm going to go cook the corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, leave it to human society to be able to overcomplicate anything. Like, let's just take a Native American word that's really hard to pronounce in every single different ancient language, and let's add that to it and call it nixtamalization. Yeah.
Can we sidebar just for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Even though your mom taught you, all those things, do you want to talk about the story about what you told your mom about when she tried to teach you how to cook?
Oh, well, he
What did your mom tell you when you tried to learn how to cook?
I said, I don't like to cook.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother would say, "You are going to marry someone who's going to send you to gather the wood, to go to the molino every day, make tortillas." And I said, "You wish I'm going to marry someone who cooks for me."
And you did.
And I did.
All right. You set off on your life's path. You went down to the marine room. You're like, you.
Yeah, you missed a few steps, but yeah. Something like that.
Okay, fill in.
No, it's self-fulfilled prophecy, I guess. Yeah.
Self-fulfilled
Yeah,
prophecy.
I manifested.
You manifested? Yeah. You're like, I'm going to find a cook. I'm going to find a chef. I'm going to find the best one of the best in San Diego.
And that was probably I met him back in Mexico. He was traveling down there. I met him probably 4 years later than I had said that.
Okay.
So
There we go. And all of a sudden, this young cook is like, you know what? I'm going to wander down this street, not knowing why. It's because you put it to the gods, and the gods were like, "Nah, you're going to go right down this direction."
you got that right.
There it is.
How did you know that?
I know, right? You're predestined. I'm sorry. You really have no free will. That she actually put that into the universe, and there you came.
I'm so happy.
So, all right. So when you first went down into, and you recognized, I mean, you were a young cook at the time, I'd imagine, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you're a young cook, and you're really fascinated by the corn culture down there, obviously. And, being a cook is to be a nerd, is to be a scientist, is to be a process person, is to be a history person, and that,
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, and not everybody has to be. I mean, some people just make a burger, and that's fine, and they don't want to know anything else about it. It tastes delicious. That's good enough for me. But the chefs, and this is one of the reasons why I was excited to have you on today, is because every time I've talked to you, you've always had a thoughtful way of approaching food. You've always kind of expressed an interest in the history behind it, the culture behind it, the process behind it. Oh, did you know that traced back to this? So you were obviously incredibly fascinated with that, especially probably working and cooking in San Diego at the time, right?
At the time, I was in Los Angeles.
You were in LA,
but,
which has pretty decent
yeah.
Mexican food culture.
You're right. And just to remember that back in the days, there was no internet.
Yeah.
So to learn things, you had to go experience them. You can't look it up.
Yeah.
And reading, I did a lot of reading and research.
So you guys met before the internet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I did a lot before the internet too. Let's not pretend I did.
Before cell phones, before anything.
So really, she was your gateway into learning about the
Absolutely
core of Mexican food.
Her and her mom. The first time I went into her town, we wandered in together, and we sat down in her house with her mom, and they were eating some chicken soup, and they had the chicken feet in there, and they were just sucking on the chicken feet like just another day. She hates when I tell that story. But I was so fascinated.
Just for the video, she just hit him under the table. I want everybody to know this.
I was just so fascinated.
Yeah.
And over the time, her mom started, to take to me as far as being interested. So when her mom was going to make things such as uchepos, which is a regional tamale, she would send me to the cornfields to select the corn, which have to be at a perfect stage of ripeness. Like not too ripe, not too underripe.
Oh, no pressure, gringo.
Yeah, and I would bring it back 12 years, and her mom would look at them and say, okay, yeah, this one yes, this one no, this one no, this one no, this one yes. We need more. Go back out.
So look at this one, the two that I showed you, and feel them, touch them, look at them, see what. So how do you pick a perfect ear of corn? What does she teach you?
For that particular preparation, it's about the size of the kernel, the softness, and what you do is you taste it.
Okay.
You just taste the raw.
Right.
You try to get the right mouthfeel of starch, because it has to have that certain amount of starch in it that hasn't been converted to sugar yet.
Sure. Because you don't always want really ripe corn, right? I mean, you want it for different preparations, for different dishes.
Right.
You want it at different stages, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing too is that as the corn grows, it turns into different preparations.
Yeah.
So like first you eat it on the cob.
Okay.
Then it gets a little more ripe and you have uchepos.
Uh-huh.
Okay, wait, I did that wrong. Sorry.
Okay, that's what I thought. Right?
Yeah, I did that wrong.
Yeah.
Basically, the first thing is uchepos.
Okay.
That's when
there's fresh corn.
Nope, let me start again.
Okay,
the
so the
first
stages of corn,
Okay.
stages of corn and dishes, as explained in its life cycle.
Yeah, the first is toqueres. So toqueres is like a corn cake.
Okay.
And then after that,
And that's when it's not ripe, right? Or when
yes,
it's like
exactly.
approaching
It's more
ripeness?
more starchy.
Okay, got it.
And then uchepos, which is a fresh corn tamale.
Uh-huh.
It's a little more sweet.
Okay.
Still has that starchiness to bind it. And then after uchepos, then we start to get into like tamales,
Corundas.
As the sugar starts to show up to the party in the actual in the corn, right?
and as it dries.
And it dries. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So yeah, and that whole process, is what we witness over time.
Yeah.
And it's about making do with the crop and its different stages.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So when
she
you
taught me a lot.
So, and then when you came back, I mean, obviously getting I don't know how much fresh masa. I mean, if you guys met, what years did you guys meet? Do you know?
88.
88.
Oh, 88. You already corrected this. And look, as I said, the male already forgot. Is when you guys met in 88, I imagine you probably didn't have much fresh masa. Excuse me. You probably didn't have much fresh masa up in LA, did you?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That is, and this is why I started the show by saying, and you guys haven't seen these yet. I'm gonna record it later. Okay. But I started the show by saying, that masa is, the cornerstone of any the foods that we love, that we know in San Diego. There's a billion things that are made with masa, but the cornerstones that we know, the tacos, and everything else. Masa is a key because it's like having terrible bread. A taco without a good masa is like doing it on, bread that you're like, probably should make French toast with that, but I'm going to actually put it on the sandwich. So why do you think it hasn't taken off? I mean, why do you think we've gone so far with food and fresh masa, it still hasn't taken a foothold, which you guys are changing right now?
Well, there's a couple things into play with that.
Okay.
One is making masa. I like to say it's like making wine.
Mm-hmm.
It's a craft and it takes years. Like we've been doing this like full time for maybe 2.5 to 3 years.
Okay.
And we still don't have it perfected.
Do I still have no clue? I've been writing for 50 years and I still have no clue.
Nah, you're one of my favorite writers in San Diego.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the subsidizing of corn by the government in the United States, which makes that corn a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So
And the cheaper corn is not the optimal corn.
No, so that's the catch.
Yeah.
And then just to bring in another thing is that if you look at the staple food of Italy, staple ingredient being wheat.
Yeah.
People import Italian flour to make great Italian dishes. In Asian cuisine, rice. A lot of rice is imported from those countries.
Sure.
But for whatever reason in United States and Mexican cuisine, 99% of the Mexican cuisine, whether it's in a mom and pop shop or a chain restaurant, is made from American corn.
Yeah.
Mexican corn is not imported into the United States. The American corn, I like to say that you have to look at what people's intention are when they grow things, right? So the big agriculture company's intention of growing corn is profit.
Sure.
And they want to get rid of anything that endangers their profit, whether it be weeds or pests, quickly and efficiently. And the way to do that is to spray chemicals. And
probably to crossbreed. And we'll get into this in a second. Corn is one of the sluttiest agricultural products out there. Every single kernel, it cross-pollinates with everything.
Yes.
And every single kernel on a piece of corn, every single kernel on a cob of corn may have a different father. You know, there's that many genetic strands in every single piece of corn, more so than the human body.
Yeah,
you know?
I like to say it's accepting.
It's accepting.
Yes.
It's very accepting.
It's non-discriminatory.
It is 1960s commune corn.
Yes.
But the reason why I said that was, that if you're crossbreeding it, you're taking one of those genetic strands and you want to make a profit. You want to make something that's very shelf stable or field stable. You're probably breeding for durability, not necessarily flavor, right?
For durability, for plant size, for ease of harvest.
Yeah.
All the intentions are not for health reasons.
Right.
And the people growing that corn have no emotional connection to it. Whereas people growing corn in Mexico, most of the time, even though they're doing it for business, they also grow it for their own consumption. So they don't want the weeds and they don't want the pests and the weeds either, and they want to get rid of them, but not at the expense of their health. So when the weeds grow, they pick them out by hand instead of spraying glyphosate on them.
This is the greatest thing. Always buy food if you can. And we realize that that life parameters and the day-to-day of life make this very hard.
Yeah.
But the wiseness there is buy food from people who have to eat it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then you guys are then? I mean, you're sourcing, where are you sourcing your corn?
In Mexico, Veracruz, Tlaxcala, Michoacán. And we have connection.
From your hometown?
Yes, and we have connection with the farmers that grow the corn.
Okay.
We can tell you their name and their town, and so it's very transparent.
Nice. Okay, so that's a big process. But you being you having this in your soul and your bones and your family, you knowing this as a chef, you know, I mean, that was obviously really important to you. It was getting to know the maker, actually knowing the farm, you know, seeing that it has providence, has a human being with a name overlooking the quality, not just for the consumer, but for their family as well. Yeah. So, go ahead.
The farmers are under tremendous pressure to stop doing this process, stop growing corn.
Yeah.
They're under pressure from corporations who want to go in and use their land for other purposes. They're under pressure because it's not profitable.
Interesting.
And so part of our project, the foundation of it, is to support the farmers.
Yep.
By the more corn that we can purchase from them, the more what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation. The more motivation they have to continue growing it. It's also really hard work. So I wanted to bring that up too, is that when you go to the store and buy a tortilla, it's almost like a convenience food.
Yeah.
Right? You buy it and you just heat it up real quick and you eat it.
There's 200 of them in a bag.
And you don't think much about it. It takes 1 year of back-breaking work to make a tortilla. And I think that's the thing that gets lost on people.
Yeah.
And they're undervalued.
Yep.
They're undervalued because of the bio corporations who make them cheap. They're undervalued because for whatever reason, people think Mexican food should be cheap.
Yep.
And because they're just in such high demand at this low cost.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we've been basically making a cover band, a cover song of a real tortilla in the United States for a long, long time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's the big, the commercial tortilla that you get. And I forget, there's a name for it. Masarina. Masarina. So Masarina, can you explain to me what that is?
Masarina is, well...
You want me to take that one too?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So Masarina is a convenience product.
Okay.
So have you ever heard of instant potatoes where you just add water and you get mashed potatoes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. It's you just add water and you have masa.
Okay.
Now, to make masarina, you have to dry the corn and grind it into a powder. But these companies who make masarina, in order to save on cost, they don't fully nixtamalize it.
And they flash dry it a lot of times
And they flash dry it, so it's so it becomes at the expense of the nutrients because it's not fully nixtamalized.
Uh-huh.
And because they're not having it soak in the alkaline solution, which is made from calcium.
Yep.
Tortillas in Mexico have a high calcium content. Tortillas in the United States do not if you make them from masarina.
And I'd imagine, so in corn, a lot of times you'll get calcium, niacin, vitamin B3.
Yes.
And when you nixtamalize it in a real, true process, you really make those nutrients available. Where if you make masarina, and you're speeding through that process using the, ingenuity of technology and, industrialization to make a masa-like product, a flaky mashed potato flake of corn, you're not going to get those nutrients and you're not going to get the flavor, right?
Also, because to make it shelf stable, they remove the kernel, which is where the essential oils are, so that they don't get rancid. Well, that part of the corn is where the nutrients are too.
Got it.
So basically, the reason why a bag of masarina this big costs you $2 is because there's nothing in it.
Got it. It's just like shelf-stable flour.
Yeah.
Shelf-stable. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, yes. I was going to say that some people, that's all they have available to them.
For sure.
And that's what they use. And that's great. That's the best they can do. But that's part of our project to, make this more widely available because people deserve authentic food.
Yeah.
And the flavors, and it's just they don't know what they're missing.
Yeah, you guys are doing masa the old way. You're doing it the way that you grew up with. When you started looking into this, and I'm sure it's not easy now, and I'm sure it never will be easy. But how hard is it? It is harder to do. It's so much easier to take that flour.
Oh, yes.
To take that, what is it, masarina, and take that and just make your instant tortillas. How hard was it? I mean, how much process goes into it?
It's a process.
I saw 7 years go through in between those words. You're like, it was. Oh, it's a process.
You want to elaborate?
Well, yeah. I mean, making masa is a. I'll tell you, Troy. We've known each other a long time, and you've been to my restaurants that I've worked at and tasted a lot of my food. And the most difficult culinary process that I've ever tried to accomplish is making masa.
Interesting. You've made a lot of food.
Yeah.
And is it because of the unpredictability of it? Is it because of the laborious, the nixtamalization is not just a whoop, whoop, microwave?
I think what it comes down to, I've thought about this a lot, is that the preparations that have the least number of ingredients in them mean that every single factor affects the final outcome substantially.
Yeah.
So look at wine. It's made from grapes. Winemaking, as we know, is quite a craft that takes years to master. Bread, is made from flour. Same thing.
Yep.
Masa is made from corn. Same thing. Every little part of the process affects the final outcome tremendously. So you have to master all of them. There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah, you have to find the right corn. You have to find the right nixtamal. You have to find the right. Everything has to be right. Right. Yes. And you've got to usher it to get there. You've got to groom it. You've got to, like really help it evolve into the right spot. Right.
Yeah. So,
whereas like with processed food, it's just like if you take a photo of me. If you take a photo of me with just an iPhone, it's going to look kind of shitty, But if you take a photo of me and then you use an airbrushing tool and then you use a face thinner and you use there's a lot of things you can do to make me look almost Hollywood-esque with a lot of filters, But the same thing with corn and any kind of food. If you only have 3 ingredients and you're not using that kind of technology or those other ingredients that kind of mask problems in it, right? It's harder to do.
Yeah, if we don't add salt.
Yeah. And how are you guys liking working together?
I love it.
Dude, oh, that was so genuine. You do love working with your husband.
I do. I just it's just the best.
You guys have been together for 35 years, and now you're making masa together, and you're still like, I show up to work every day with a smile on my face.
I know.
Okay, so you told me a trick. I want to know. But this shocked me that blue corn tortillas and blue corn chips that we all know, we see them in our fancier grocery stores. Now we see them in every single grocery store. Not necessarily blue corn. Not necessarily blue corn.
Right. A lot of food coloring.
A lot of food. Right. You said almost 90% of products on that are called themselves blue corn tortillas are.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Your guess is 90% is usually blue food coloring.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I see it because we visit other tortillerias and we see the bottles of food coloring in them.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And plus, we do the test, and then
Okay, so all right. No, what is the test? You're the one that taught me the test. Okay.
Yes. Okay. You take a blue tortilla right here.
This is gonna blow your mind. I had no idea. I studied food for a long, long time.
Okay, and then you put a few drops
of any acid, either a lime, a lemon, a pickled onion, anything.
And then what happens?
It starts to turn pink. A real blue corn tortilla exposed to an acid turns pink, and if it doesn't turn pink, it's probably it'll stain your clothes, I guess.
It has food coloring.
It has food coloring. Interesting. So you know what? I would think that somebody eating a corn tortilla and didn't know that, would see it turn pink and be like, that's probably a problem with this tortilla. Right. In actuality, that means it's a real blue corn tortilla.
Right.
I love that. So you guys just got into Valle. Just got into Valle, or was Valle one of the first?
Valle is our most recent.
Your most recent.
Yeah.
So you just got your masa into a Michelin star restaurant in Oceanside.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah, they love it. They use it for almost every dish.
So Roberto Alcocer, who knows his food.
Yeah, he knows his food. Yeah.
Yeah, who's one of the best chefs in Valle. Yeah. Has a Michelin star here. He has oh God, now I'm spacing out the name of his restaurant down in
Malva.
Malva. Mm-hmm. He has Malva down in Valle de Guadalupe, which you guys have not been. You have to go. And then he's got Valle up here in Oceanside. I mean, if you've got a Michelin star, you're defending it every single year. And he's very serious about his food. He would not use your food unless he knew that it was done right.
Yes.
To mom's specifications. And then where else can you get it?
The masa? Well, you just send us a text.
All right, we're gonna throw up their phone number on the screen. I do. So do you guys have a website too? No.
We have Instagram.
Okay, Instagram. Okay, got it.
So Somos Maíz SD.
Okay, got it. And you can actually get the corn too. I mean, do actual consumers buy your corn as well, or just your masa?
They do. They buy the corn, they buy the masa, and it's very loose. It's like they text us. We say, you want to come by the kitchen and pick it up, and then.
See, this is great. This is why I wanted to have you guys on. You're getting in on the ground floor. All right. This is mom's recipe for masa from Michoacán. You know, you guys, and you got a chef with you that you know hired as your research assistant 25 years ago, who knows how to also source some of the best corn, raw corn itself. So you can you're basically the corn suppliers of San Diego nowadays, right? You're
I'm sorry, said it.
Yeah,
you're the corn suppliers.
Like, for example, sometimes when we contact chefs and we tell them about the project, they're just so elated that there's actual masa available in San Diego.
Yeah.
And so Tahona, which is a restaurant in Old Town.
Okay.
It's like a mezcaleria.
Yeah.
Chef Adrian, as soon as I contacted him, he said, yes, we're on board. We want that. It's not been available to us before. And then Fox Point Farms.
Okay.
Huerta.
There's a taco stand there called Huerta.
Letty. Chef Letty.
Yeah, exactly.
She's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So Fox Point Farms, if you haven't gone and seen Chef Letty down there, she is. I didn't realize that was your maíz. Or that it was your masa. I'm getting them confused. I'm going to do this all day. That it was your masa because I tasted her taco and I went, "Oh, holy crap! This is just a way better taco."
Yes,
and
you
that
can
was
tell.
Obviously, her recipes and her marinades and her skills as a chef, but using raw ingredients as well.
Right. Yeah. So it's very appreciated, and everything goes back to the farmer.
Yeah.
We're just trying to give them the incentive to continue growing their corn.
Yeah.
And to, have the tradition continue. Thousands of years tradition. Just don't get lost.
Well, you talk about the nixtamalization. I mean, that is what same kind of process that goes like cacao beans go through, or coffee. You need to dry them out and naturally ferment them, or if you didn't, that's not coffee. It's not chocolate. You needed that process that unleashes all of that magic from that bean, right? And the nixtamalization is what releases the magic from corn. I mean, it is a completely, when you taste corn that's gone through the nixtamalization process, it's a completely different thing. It's like having a corn kernel and then all of a sudden it's buttered popcorn, or people have said that it kind of, it's so much more diverse and depth of flavor. It's like, somebody said it was like described it as rain on hot cement.
I like that.
Yes. Hey, doesn't it? It's like, okay, rain smells fine. It's a little one-dimensional, but when you smell rain on hot cement, you're like, why is that the best smell in the world? Yeah. And that's what happens when a regular piece of corn goes through the nixtamalization process.
And that's what you're saying. I do that with the tortilla every time. I'm making tortillas like, this is the best.
And you smell it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is your mom still with us?
No, she's not.
She passed. Would mom approve of these tortillas?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
She'd also be laughing that you are making tortillas.
I know.
Because this is mom's recipe, essentially.
Well, that's what she did. Everything like everybody, all the grandmas, moms, for generations, that's what they've been doing. It's just the same.
Yeah.
Corn and cal in water. That's it.
Corn and water. Go cook your corn.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't even, I'm going to stop even using the word nixtamalize. It's just going to be cook your corn, right? That feels so much better to me. What else? We've gone about a half hour now, and I've gotten the call from my producers. Anything else in your story that we haven't said yet that you really want to get across, Ron?
Yeah,
Isabel?
have a couple more hours.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
There's also an interesting part to me that I haven't done any historical research on, but it just occurred to me that before electricity, corn was ground on a metate, which is a volcanic kind of a mortar and pestle type of thing. And so people would do that in their house.
Yep.
When electricity was invented and the electric molino was invented, all of a sudden each town would have its own molino, its own mill. Mm-hmm. And so all the women of the town would take their nixtamalized corn that they made overnight to the molino and have it ground. And it became like a social hub.
Got it.
So it brought people together.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was just a beautiful thing. And when I would go to Isabel's town, and the molino is still there, because in her town, it's the tradition is continuing.
Sure.
All the women gather, and they wait for the molino to get turned on, because the grinder won't turn it on until there's a line. Mm-hmm. Sure. So in the meantime, they're doing the gossip and they're all chatting. They're talking about each other's corn and how they cooked it. It's just a great thing to go witness.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like the farmer's market now, church, whatever
Yes.
it may be.
Yes.
We're standing in line with our nixtamalized corn, waiting for it to get done.
Socializing, yeah.
That's how you socialize. I mean, and that goes back to cooking's roots too. I mean, they think that socialization and culture in humankind was built around cooking because you had to start a fire, and then everybody would sit around the fire, waiting for rabbit, saber-tooth tiger, whatever you got, to cook, and you naturally fill those spaces with chit-chat.
Yeah.
And chit-chat is how culture starts.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the Molina is the chit-chat epicenter of culture of Mexican society.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
The small towns, yes.
Small towns. Is the Molina still there in your small town?
Oh, yes.
That's right around the corner from her house.
Okay, we're all taking a trip down to your Molina.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
We're going to overwhelm the entire... we'll camp on the outside. You tell us where to sleep. Is it really rural?
It's not that rural. I mean, it's grown over the years. We have a hotel in the town, so that tells... Yeah.
6 rooms.
All right, 6 rooms?
Yeah.
All right.
That's enough.
6 of us are going down to your town.
Can I jump in on another thing too?
For sure.
Okay. The real kind of what's it called? Like the starting point of this project.
Yeah.
Is when we would go and visit Isabel's town. Her town is surrounded by milpa, which is the cornfields.
Yep.
It's where they grow the 3 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
And so for miles you would see green if you went, during the time that it's green. And now what's happening is over the years, American corporations have come in and purchased the land and removed the corn and put in greenhouses. So now we look out and we see all this plastic.
Yep.
Because that's how they make the greenhouses.
Sure.
That was the point where we said we need to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
Instead of just complaining every time we go and looking at this, let's try to do something.
Let's directly support these corn farmers.
Yeah, and give them incentive to keep growing.
And turn their product into something that is worth more money because of the process, because of the art, because of the flavor of it all. And then we can sell it in the United States and support them.
Right, and create more demand.
And create more demand.
So we don't want to be the only ones doing this. We want there to be hundreds of people doing this.
Okay, got it. Because steal their recipe, become their competitor right now. So
because that's what the goal is. The goal is to make it abundant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To return a process to its natural state.
Exactly.
To do it the way that, is the way it's been done for millennia. Yeah. Because that's the way you release flavor and nutrients.
And done the right way. Yeah.
Done the right way. And every time you eat one of these tortillas, you're helping eradicate a greenhouse and put back a real field of corn.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly what it is.
That's beautiful.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for sharing a delicious. You're not seeing me eat this on camera because I crushed 4 quesadillas and 2 standalone tortillas when you made it over there on the kaban. Somos Maíz, that you can find her cell phone, which will just flash on the screen. I'm kidding, we're not going to do that. But you can find you guys on Instagram at
Somos Maíz SD.
SD. Somos Maíz SD. You can get on the ground floor of what is a phenomenal product from your mom to your 20-something years as a chef. And plus you can hire them as caterers around San Diego. They're obviously he's one of the best in town. They're both 2 of the best in town, the duo. All right, so now let's move into a part of the show we call 2 People, $50, which is a place you like to go eat. Actually, did we change the name of this? We did change the name of this, didn't we? It's called Get Some now. For 10 years, it's been 2 People, $50. It was the dumbest name. And because it wasn't $50, we were talking about Addison. We were talking about the Marine Room. We were also talking about taco shops and tiny little holes in the walls. Yeah. But get some means go get some. Okay. Go get some of this food. Where do you guys eat around town, or some place you just discovered recently that you want to tell people about?
Well, what about Huerta in Fox Point?
You can definitely talk about Huerta at Fox Point because it is a Fox Point now has Haven. Which has Alex Carballo, who's a phenomenal chef in San Diego, and Chef Kelston Moore, of Bad Boys of Culinary. He's a young, talented chef as well. That's like their show pony, beautiful restaurant up top over the farm in Encinitas. And then out the back, during the day, when you can go pet goats and alpacas and pigs and cows over in their little petting zoo, and the chefs will walk you around and explain everything that they're growing. There's a little taco stand. I'm sorry, I stole your entire story, Isabel. What do you love about
Huerta, because Chef Letty is so creative.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned before, you put that into a tortilla that is the real tortilla. I mean, what's better?
Yeah, you start with good bread. You put one slice of like reasonably good meat on it. I'm okay, and she does way better.
And she does, and they have vegetarian version, and they have, all this to choose from. It's great.
Phenomenal. All right, Ron, what about you?
So just to jump on that a second, is that for me a taco is a tortilla that's garnished.
I love that idea of a taco.
Yeah.
And really, that's it.
That's what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not stuffed.
No.
It's garnished, and Letty makes the best garnishes.
Got it.
Now, of course, I'm going to go to Tahona.
Okay.
But I'll tell you why. They do more than just tacos. I think Tahona is one of the most underrated restaurants in San Diego.
Yeah.
Chef Adrian is incredible. They do a dish. It's a pozole, but the base of it is more like a ramen broth.
Okay.
This is one of the best dishes I've had in my entire
really
time in
good.
San Diego. It's incredible.
I love pozole, and I love ramen.
Yeah.
So the combination of both of those, yeah, I'm definitely in on. All right, so those are your two recommendations.
Yeah.
If we could pause there right now, because I actually haven't thought about mine yet.
Okay. He's researching.
I am looking through my photos of what I've eaten. Okay, hold on. Actually, I think I will. Well, 1 second. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Ready? Okay, got it. All right, so for my two people, my two people get some. My get some. I'm going down to Provisional Kitchen. I stopped by about 2 weeks ago. Claire and I got our first night off in a long, long time. And Brandon Sloan has been the chef there for a while. He does it right, does everything right. Just one of those guys that really gives a damn and researches the history and the best products and everything else. We tried their new menu that they have there. Two things that I don't usually love: squid ink pasta. I know that it is really just for the color, but I swear to God, there's an unctuousness that usually comes off from that I don't terribly enjoy. And uni. If you've listened to the show for a long time, you know that I struggle with uni, and I think it's a stain in my career. I think that I've tried in every single format to love uni. I have tried in and I cannot do it. I've given up at this point.
I'm sorry.
I know, it's right. It's a miss on my part. So, but, I'm just accepting myself for who I am, I guess. It's a long process. He has a uni covered squid ink pasta.
Oh, wow.
Which it dropped in front of me. I was like, well, I'm going to hate this. Delicious. It was so good. I had some of the uni and it was good. It still is uni to me. But he has I believe it's sun gold sauce that he puts on this. Sun gold tomato sauce. It's almost like a puree. I don't think he put any cream in there, but maybe there's a tiny bit of cream. Maybe there's a tiny bit of a pink sauce. But oh my God, the sauce, sun golds are some of the best tomatoes that you can find out there. And the pasta itself was so good. Go get the squid ink uni pasta at Provisional Kitchen in downtown. It's in the Pantry. That's it. That's my recommendation. I've got way more on my phone. I just discovered like 19. We'll use them on different podcasts. Yes. Somos Maíz. Thank you so much for coming on.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
And for making fresh tortillas for the entire staff in the office. This is the best part of this show. I mean, the people are the best part, and the food. I mean, the best part about food is people. Look them up because they will be serving all of the Michelin stars and the moon within months or years. And all of those cornfields are going to be returning to the Michoacán. All right. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Next week we've got Nobu. Are going to go to Nobu and meet the executive chef de cuisine.
Victor Martinez.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we shouldn't be guessing about his name right here. We can edit that out. Next week, we got Nobu. Just opened up at Hotel Del Coronado, which I imagine you're familiar with. See you guys next week. Bye.
Nice.